That qualifies. That came out wrong.
All right, joining us now, former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer. How you did that job, I will never, for the life of me, understand it. All right, so when they had the word hole, CNN used it 195 times in a day. Now it's stormy, stormy, stormy. There's no Russia, Russia, Russia. In the meantime, they've missed the biggest abuse of power scandal in their lifetime. And how do you describe the media today, even?
Sensational, misdirected. Look, beyond the story that you keep talking about all the time, which I completely agree is underserved, you've got the Prime Minister of Japan in meeting with the President this week down in Mar-a-Lago talking about trade and national security. You've got serious issues over in Syria. You've got an upcoming meeting with Kim Jong-un about the nuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and the threat that it potentially poses to not just our allies, but potentially our own citizens. And this is what they're talking about. You know, when it comes to the priorities of what the media is talking about, what are the concerns of the American people, I think there is a complete mismatch. And as you point out correctly, it's this pack mentality. They want to be taken seriously, they want to be treated with respect, and yet their entire focus is on a salacious, unverified detail about a comment that supposedly the former president and prime minister of Russia, Vladimir Putin, depending on when it was said.
If you look at the order, though, it was, and you were in the room at the time, this is the fascinating thing, it was Comey that said it's unverified, it's salacious. He brought up the idea.
Right.
If we're going to look at the order where it started, it was Comey telling then President-elect Donald Trump. That's where the answers are coming from. But more importantly, they have been peddling the biggest lie and conspiracy theory about some type of collusion now for a year. There's no evidence. And they still try to keep peddling the same lie. So how can we even call it journalism at this point?
Well, again, I mean, that's got to go back to a second ago, Sean, is that they want to be they would talk about this commitment to the First Amendment. They want to be treated with seriousness and respect. And yet they focus on these salacious type tabloid, unverified allegations. I think the funny thing about this is what they didn't report in any of those clips that you played is that what did Comey actually say? That when he presented this to the president in that room after that briefing, he asked the president to see him alone privately, to share with him these unverified allegations. And the president immediately said, do what you have to do to prove that they're untrue. Call an investigation on me. And it was Comey who said, I don't know if that's a good idea, Mr. President. But the president immediately says, do what you have to prove that these aren't true. Do whatever you, I mean, and that just shows you that anyone who's accused of something, if they're actually guilty of it, they would say, hey, can we kind of sweep this under the rug? Can we cover it up a little? You're not going to say anything, are you? But in fact, the president had quite the opposite. He got out there and said, we need to clear this up. We need to get it out there. I don't like any of this. This is concerning. What do you have to do? And that really shows you they don't want to cover that part of it. That the president forcefully and immediately pushed back and wanted them to actually conduct an investigation into this.
Well, this is what the president said. He said, and these were in the Comey notes, rather than the superfluous stuff they talk about, if there was some satellite, which he took to mean an associate or somebody on his campaign that did something, it would be good to find that out. But that he himself hadn't done anything. So not only is he not obstructing, in that instance, he's encouraging Jim Comey. If there's anybody around here that's involved in any of this stuff, I want to know, do your job, find out who they know, what they know. It would be good to know the truth.
Oh, exactly. He wants to know, hey, if anyone's using my name or claiming that they're part of my associated with me and doing something nefarious, I want them called out. But the other thing that's very fascinating, Sean, about all of this is go back to what happened that very first day. The president-elect, who's never served in government before, sits down with those four intelligence chiefs. Comey, as the FBI director, says, Mr. President, can we clear the room and I can speak to you alone privately? Okay, we get that. Then fast forward a little bit later, the president says to Jim Comey, hey, can we clear the room? I'd like to talk to you. And suddenly the accusations is, how dare the president clear the room to talk to Jim Comey? But if we think about it, of course he thinks that that's standard operating procedure. Comey was the one who engaged first in that relationship by saying, when we need to talk, we get to clear the room. He started that kind of relationship with the president. And then they attacked the president for doing the exact same thing when Comey comes to see him in the Oval Office.
Unbelievable. All right, Sean Spicer, great insight, as always. I don't know how you did that job at all. We appreciate you being with us. All right, when we come back, more of the special